Welcome. My name is David Seraphin. Today I'll be talking about women in the military, should all positions be available to them. We are joined today by Mrs. Seraphin and Ms. Hume. And for anybody who's missing this conference, it'll be recorded and sent out at a later date. The purpose of this presentation is decide whether the decision in 2015 by the previous administration was the correct one, and that was allowing women into all positions in the military, mainly the big one, U.S. infantry. The points to be made today: do women have the strength required of them to meet the physical demands of combat? Will combat readiness of the military be affected? And will the reports of sexual harassment and assault increase? Physicality. It takes a strong person to be able to keep up with the demands of combat and to be a part of the United States infantry. The Army tried to prove that women can do it by sending 2 women to Ranger School back in about 2015, I believe it was. Well, they passed Ranger School, but it was later found out that they had preferential treatment and were passed along at some areas that a normal infantryman would have failed. This has been highly controversial, and whether it was true or not. But recently the Army has come up with a new PT test. It was supposed to be a gender and age neutral PT test, so it was the same scoring across the board. Out of 3,200 soldiers in 11 different battalions, 84% of the female trainees failed that test, opposed to the 30% of male trainees that failed. That is a big difference, and something that should be very much reevaluated on. Also, there was a study done on women going through infantry training. I myself have experience in type of training that has gone on in the School of Infantry, because I went there myself. Every day it was pretty much a struggle not to get injured. That was my biggest priority, is do not get injured. It was even hard to do that for me. And the study shows that 2 to 6 times women were injured at a rate 2 to 6 times higher than that for men. And I'm telling, like, a lot of men got injured through basic training. And another point that I want to bring up is sexual assault and sexual harassment. Having women go into male-dominated fields and living in such close quarters as you have to do in the infantry, the question was brought up whether sexual assault and sexual harassment rates would increase, and in 1 year alone a study was done that we saw a 15% increase of sexual harassment and sexual assault reports. This is detrimental to unit cohesion and trust that other soldiers have in each other. And you also have to think of the main purpose of the United States military, which is to fight and win wars effectively as possible. You can't do that with such a sharp increase in sexual assault, sexual harassment, injuries of soldiers, not to mention personal relationships with soldiers and female soldiers wanting to start families, getting pregnant. You cannot at all do your job while pregnant if you're an infantry soldier. That means that soldier is down for 9 months plus maternity leave. That soldier is non-deployable, cannot do his job. That unit is down a soldier, and it's very crucial because every single soldier in that unit is part of a team, and that team only operates effectively if they have everyone So, conclusion. Having all combat positions available to women hinders the U.S. military's warfighting capabilities by means of lower quality of soldiers not being able to meet the physical demands that the job requires of them, higher rates of injury, more soldiers down due to injuries, can't use that soldier is no use. Increase of sexual assault, it inhibits unit cohesion, trust in others, and destroys the team mentality that is so important in an infantry platoon. So, that concludes my presentation today. I got my information from the Center for Military Readiness. Any questions?
Are there other opportunities for women in the military?
There are. I'm not saying that women should not be in the military. There are a very vast amount of support roles for the infantry, and even combat roles, such as, they could be a pilot, gunner, any sort of that kind of position, something that doesn't require the amount of physicality that, say, an infantryman would have to have. Good question. If there are no other questions, then that concludes my presentation. Thank you.